Good evening and welcome to This Week, a weekly news review program. I'm your host, Anur Kambatar. And for our top stories for this week, we have Mongolia to spend 8.6 billion MNT on Omicron transmission prevention. The Standing Committee for Economics reviewed the comprehensive plan for health protection and economic recovery. Citizens to be administered fourth dose of the booster shot voluntarily. And for other news, stay tuned. A new study suggests that the new COVID-19 variant, Omicron, is highly resistant to the antibodies of people who have recovered from the virus and those who have received the 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. During its irregular meeting, Cabinet agreed on a budget of 8.6 billion MNT from the government's reserve fund to address transmission risk.
New research comes amid rising Omicron cases, which has been designated a variant of concern by the World Health Organization. While the variant appears to be highly resistant to the antibodies of people who have already contracted COVID-19 and those who have been fully vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine, the study also mentions that a third dose of the Pfizer vaccine, when mixed with Pfizer and AstraZeneca's vaccines, may be effective against the new variant. The Omicron variant has been raising alarms globally due to its high rate of transmissibility and 37 mutations of its spike protein identified so far. The government of Mongolia has agreed to spend 5.6 billion Mongolian turuk on measures to prevent the spread of the Omicron variant. Another 3 billion Mongolian turuk will be allocated for shipping from the container terminal at the Mongolian-Chinese border to the Zamiut Customs Control Area. In addition, the National Emergency Commission has prepared quarantine facilities for more than 1,300 people. The variant was first detected in South Africa and has hit more than 100 countries worldwide. Omicron's transmission risk is more than 2.5 times higher compared to other known variants.
National Blood Donor Day was celebrated on Monday, January 3rd. Notable donors were recognized with honors. One top donor was acknowledged for donating blood 204 times.
This is the 6th National Blood Donor Day to be observed. There are around 200,000 blood donors in Mongolia, and 50,000 donors have received state honors. This year, more donors received titles, including Mongolia's first female top donor. Top donor is the title that goes to a donor who has given blood more than 200 times. Mrs. Ertun was recognized as a top donor for donating blood 204 times since 1995 and saving the lives of at least 612 people.
Since my body is healthy, I donate blood to save lives. I'm a hospital worker. In the past, our hospital had a shortage of blood donors, so I decided to become one.
Mongolia's top male donor title is held by Bomirten, who has donated blood 220 times. Health officials note that many young people are becoming blood donors these days. In 2020, there was a blood supply shortage due to pandemic lockdowns, but blood donation centers received sufficient donations in 2021. It's estimated that Ulaanbaatar needs 18 blood donors per 1,000 people. In other parts of the country, 13 donors are needed per 1,000 people. A variety of campaigns are led by the National Center for Transfusion Medicine to encourage people to become donors.
The National Museum of Mongolia opened its first exhibition of 2022, a special collection of 18th and 19th century religious and cultural artifacts. The exhibition highlights the immaculate woodwork done by the skilled craftsmen of the time.
Around 160 religious and cultural items are showcased in the exhibition. There are wooden statues of gods and religious icons, wood printing blocks, ceremonial milk offering spoons, and household altars for deities. All of these works highlight the skills and techniques of Mongolian craftsmen of the 18th and 19th centuries. The items on view are from Dalat banner in what was then known as San Noyongham province, collected by researcher Batbayr over the last 30 years. Dalat banner covered parts of today's Arhanga, Huvsgul, and Zahum provinces. Some religious artifacts and tools were passed down from notable lamas and monks who lived in the banner's Buddhist monasteries. Other items came from the households of aristocrats and noblemen. The opening of religious, wooden art and cultural samples of Dalet Chahorwan banner also commemorates the 140th birth anniversary of Tsitin Sonum, the governor of Dalet Chahorwan banner and the member of the golden lineage of Chinggis Khan.
Some items displayed here were passed down to my parents from our great-grandmother. My parents cherished them and carefully protected them during times of cultural turmoil. For us, these antiques are as valuable as the religious items we worship.
One researcher noted that Dalat Chahorwan banner was a flourishing center for handiwork and craftsmanship. The exhibition will be on view from January 3rd to 8th at the National Museum of Mongolia.
In 2021, the price of newly built apartments in Ulaanbaatar rose by 15%. Officials expect prices to increase further in 2022. Predictions of rising prices are due to the economic impact of the pandemic has had on the construction sector.
Border closures, emergency lockdowns, and other measures taken to fight the pandemic have hit the construction industry hard. In 2020, the majority of the sector shut down. Higher apartment prices are a result of these challenges. Industry experts say that the main factors influencing higher prices are imbalanced supply and demand, mortgage loan access, the cost of construction materials, and bank interest rates.
The number of new construction projects has significantly dropped due to the lack of foreign investment. The supply has declined, but at the same time, demand is rising because of the ongoing 6% mortgage loan program.
One expert highlighted that apartments for sale receiving offers from as many as 15 potential buyers. But supply is limited because of higher prices and the declining supply of construction materials due to border closures. Based on the current situation, experts can promise lower apartment prices in 2022, but they say prices could come down starting in 2024 when the state-run residential construction projects start their operations.
A swimming pool is now open at a public kindergarten in Nakhon Province. There are about 1,400 kindergartens in Mongolia, but this is the first time a kindergarten has had a pool of its own.
Kindergarten number 7 in Nakhon Province first opened in 1990. The original building plan included a swimming pool, but the pool's construction was put on hold for 30 years. The pool is 12 by 6 square meters with a depth of 1.1 meters. Children at the kindergarten will now have swimming lessons twice a week. The kindergarten plans to offer 2 classes for children with disabilities. The kindergarten's principal says the classes will be part of a water therapy exercise program.
Currently, we're developing a water fitness and water therapy program, and 2 more classes will be offered. We hope this development can set a standard for other kindergartens as well.
The pool's construction cost 2 billion Mongolian tuguruk. Kindergarten number 7 has become Mongolia's first state-run kindergarten to offer swimming lessons.
Now we have a story about a herder who is raising yaks in a high-altitude mountainous area. In 2012, he became the first to have a herd of 1,500 yaks. 9 years later, in 2021, his herd has grown to 2,000. He received a state prize for his hard work.
Mr. Dorchsurung has been herding yaks since he was a boy. He is in his 60s now. He says yak herding requires long-term diligence. Back in 1992, when privatization was allowed by the democratic government, Dorchsurung was herding less than 30 livestock. His herd mostly consisted of sheep and goats. Later on, he reduced the number of small animals and focused entirely on raising yak.
Around the age of 11, I started herding livestock. It's been 52 years since then. In 2012, we celebrated our number of yaks reaching 1,500. In 2021, the number increased to 2,000.
Yak is a domestic animal that has adapted to living in cold, mountainous areas. To develop his herd, Dorchsurung lives in the mountainous region of Arhanga province. Herding yak is not an easy task, but these animals can be profitable for herders. At the end of 2021, Dorchsurung received the title of Labor Hero of Mongolia for his successes as a herder. In addition to successfully raising a herd of 2,000, he has profound knowledge of nomadic herding practices and trains future generations of herders.
I give advice to young herders. Some of them have already become the best herders in the region.
Yak is a delicate animal that eats only certain kinds of grass and has a low fertility rate. Herds spend the winter months in the mountain wilderness.
The capital city education department has discussed some possibilities of changing school class schedules. At a meeting, it was proposed to start school classes at 7:45 a.m. and 18:15 a.m. for public and non-public schools, respectively. The department expects that the 30-minute difference between the school hours will reduce the road congestion by about 50%.
The Deputy Director of the Capital City Education Department met with the heads of 63 secondary schools affected by congestion on Ektaru Street of Ulaanbaatar City. During the meeting, he suggested changing school schedules to start classes at 7:45 and 8:15 in the morning to reduce congestion. They estimate that this will reduce traffic congestion by 50%. School officials did not oppose the proposal but suggested an increase in the number of school buses. According to a research, around 100,000 cars involved in the traffic every day. The introduction of school buses has reduced congestion by 3 to 6% per day. Therefore, they hope that changes in school start schedules will help further reduce congestion. There are a total of 63 secondary schools in Ektaru Street in Ulaanbaatar. There are 27 state-owned and 36 non-state-owned schools with over 73,000 children attending those schools. According to a survey, 21.6% or just under 16,000 children use private transport go to school. Therefore, in order to reduce traffic congestion, it's necessary to change their school schedules, according to the Capital City Education Department. School and kindergarten teachers also will be provided with free public transport. Therefore, civil servants and private company workers also note that their working hours should be more flexible. For example, due to the changes in school schedules, working hours might start between 7 and 10 a.m. and finish between 4 and 8 p.m.
The Standing Committee for Economics of Parliament held a meeting with government representatives and reviewed the implementation of the Comprehensive Plan for Health Protection and Economic Recovery, budgeted to cost 10 trillion MNT.
The Standing Committee for Economics of Parliament held a meeting and reviewed the Comprehensive Plan for Health Protection and Economic Recovery, which has a budget of 10 trillion Mongolian tugruk. The Deputy Minister of Finance, Mungun Chimuk, introduced the implementation of the Comprehensive Plan to the Standing Committee members. It has been 200 days since the government started implementing the plan and 56 events have been planned. The budget for the plan has been sorted out and is coming from different sources. As a result of the comprehensive plan, 120,000 jobs were saved and 2.1 million citizens have been vaccinated. Also, 171,000 jobs in the construction sector were saved due to the indirect effect of the mortgage lending policy. The goal of the plan was not to create new jobs, but to save existing ones. It has prevented the risk of a major decrease in economic growth. The comprehensive plan was 81% completed for the year 2021. Due to its positive results, government is working on continuing the program. Following on from the Deputy Finance Minister, the Vice President of Mongol Bank, Dulung, stated that the bank had planned to allocate loans to the value of 2 trillion Mongolian turuk for the year, which involved 12 commercial banks. Using 76 billion from the state budget, banks could allocate loans worth 1.6 trillion Mongolian turuk to about 4,000 lenders. Hambank even granted loans to rural citizens as the bank has branches in every province. Commercial banks decided who was to receive the loans without state organizations' involvement. Mongol Bank carefully monitors the granting of loans to see they are in accordance with the loan regulations in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and other legal entities. Active mortgage loans have reached 5 trillion Mongolian turuk. Mongol Bank warns that the comprehensive plan has increased the supply of money to an extreme level and loans should be given out more carefully in the future. Although the mortgage loans have enabled young families to get into their own accommodation, too many loans have put a lot of pressure on the value of the turuk, while construction is hampered with the majority of imported goods and materials in short supply. The Deputy Minister of Culture, Batbayır, said that the Ministry of Culture, as part of the comprehensive plan, produced 8 TV programs that were watched 5.2 million times, which didn't use any money from the budget. The video program Mongol Natam, created for the last Natam festival, was made with 980 million Mongolian turuk coming from the Natam celebration budget. The Secretary of the Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Light Industry, Jambal Tsireng, was the next one to make his presentation. According to him, 19,000 herders received loans worth 650 billion Mongolian turuk. Some entities requested a delay in the repayment of the loans, which will be resolved in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance. Some loans are scheduled to be repaid within a year, others in 3 years. Members of Parliament asked questions after government representatives had made their presentations. It was highlighted that citizens are facing difficulties in obtaining loans, and they suggested creating a working group to monitor the comprehensive plan's implementation and do performance audits. Member of Parliament Bolor Cholong disapproved of the fact that 40% of the loans were granted to the trade sector and mentioned that Mongolia only charges a 5% import tax, while the bordering two nations charge 30 to 40% on imports, which hinders domestic production. The Deputy Finance Minister promised to study any solutions regarding the issues raised by all the speakers.
The regular cabinet meeting was held on January 5th, Wednesday, during which cabinet members were directed to take some concrete measures on preventing the rapid spread of the COVID-19 Omicron variant.
Notably, the cabinet assigned Deputy Prime Minister Amr Sahan and Minister of Health Iqbal to take measures in involving citizens in the 4th booster dose of the vaccine against coronavirus and providing related information and instructions in connection with the rapid spread of the Omicron around the world. The daily number of COVID-19 cases in Mongolia was around 200 to 250 before New Year and Christmas celebration. Despite the advice to limit mass gatherings, in recent days this number has doubled. Since the Omicron variant was first reported in the world, Mongolia has intensified its monitoring and surveillance at its borders. Since November 27, 2021, 411 imported cases of the COVID-19 have been confirmed. The surveillance is underway, reported the Minister of Health, Iqbal. The vaccination coverage among the general population is high, with 48.2% of the target group having received a 3rd dose. A study to administer the 4th dose is underway. According to research, protection against being infected wanes after time. Therefore, adults can voluntarily get a 4th dose at least 3 months after their 3rd shot. The Minister of Health also stated that there is enough vaccine reserve in Mongolia, but also calling on citizens to keep wearing masks and continue their infection control regime.
Now let's see what's happening in the sports industry this week. Multiple people with knowledge of the promotion's plans confirmed to MMA Fighting that a fight between Montel Jackson and Dana Batgirl will take place at UFC's event on March 26 at the location and venue yet to be announced. Jackson's management team Iridium Sports first revealed the booking on social media. Jackson and Dana White's Contender Series veteran will make his 8th walk to the octagon. Quick is 5-2 throughout his UFC career, which includes finishes of Brian Kelleher and Jesse Strader. In his most recent appearance, Jackson set a bantamweight record with 4 knockdowns of JP Buys in a dominant unanimous decision win at the UFC Vegas 37 in September. After dropping his promotional debut, Batgirl has been on an impressive streak of finishes. Storm hasn't seen a second round in his past 3 bouts, compiling knockouts victories over Guido Canetti, Kevin Natividad and Brandon Davis in less than 6 minutes of combined octagon time. The UFC's March 26 event is headlined by a matchup between former light heavyweight champion John Blachowicz and Alexander Rakic. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you next week with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.